So we're gonna have to come up with a consensus top 10, though.
You got it. You got it.
I figure we'll just somebody will have a strong, passionate point, and they'll browbeat the other three into accepting it.
Perfect.
Eventually, at 1 a.m., 4 a.m. Garrett's time, we'll just we'll be worn out. We'll be like, yeah, okay, sure. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Let's just fucking give it to that.
Man, it's gonna be like, hey, so I'm pretty much out of the alcohol that's available to me in front of me in this table, so I'm ready to just fucking wrap this shit. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I basically have a conveyor belt of liquor set up. It's just being delivered to me moment by moment.
Look at you, Mr. fucking Jetson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the end of the year. It's been quite a 2018, and it's time to figure out COGconnected's best games of the year. That's right. In a year that included such memories as Spider-Man and Red Dead Redemption 2 and Dead Cells and Tetris Effect and so many other things, it's time for us to hammer out a top 10 with you, and you're going to hear all the nitty-gritty, dirty details, all the name-calling, all the hair-pulling, all the blood and guts. It's your friends from COGconnected.com. My name is Paul Sullivan. I'll be your host. Alongside me today, helping me to figure out this list, my best friends and soon to be my worst enemies, we've got Trevor Houston.
What is up, everybody? Woo!
He's excited.
It is Game of the Year, where we tie 2018 all together with a nice little bow, a clean top 10, where you guys just agree with all my picks and we move along. This should be really a short podcast, really.
You might even call it a perfect list.
Right. Yes, indeed. The perfect list.
Also got James Paley.
Hello.
And Garrett Drake.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure. So I think the way we're going to do this year is we don't want the listeners to have to guess. We want everyone to know exactly what we think. So we're going to take all our thoughts, we're going to lay them out on the table, and we have to come to a consensus list, a consensus top 10 that everyone agrees to. Sounds pretty simple.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely do this with no headaches or head wounds, so to speak.
I made sure to wound my head before I came in.
Oh, clever bastard.
That's right. Can't wound something that's already wounded.
Indeed.
All right. So I think the best way to do this is to just kind of go around the table and get some thoughts about some games. So why don't we go to my digital left to Trevor?
Yeah, well, I spent, I painfully spent the good hour of all day yesterday coming up with my top 10. And for me, the top 3, which we'll get to, was pretty easy. To me, there were 3 games that stood head or tails above every other single game. And let's face it, if you guys have any other of these 3 games in your top 3, like, you're dead wrong. There is only 3 games that stand out amongst the good lineup of 2018 games, and I've got 3 of them in there. And then after that, it is a coin toss with the rest of the games. It was a good year. It was a really good year. But if I'm going to start with my 10th best game of the year, for me, it's Dead Cells. With over a 90 Metacritic score on Metacritic, it reviewed. It was well received by absolutely everyone. It was punishing, but in a good way, because it was also very satisfying. I appreciate that this game isn't necessarily for those looking for that kind of punishing experience, but it's also extremely rewarding. The art style is absolutely beautiful. It's easily my best indie game of the year. Not enough to be the game of the year, but it cracks my top 10. Dead Cells.
I think that is absolutely on the list. Probably a lot higher than 10.
Yeah. I think so too, just because it took a formula that we were all pretty fucking sick of and made it good again. Like after so many years of like, I'm gonna make a Metroidvania and it's gonna be awesome, and then it's not awesome, and then it's the same fucking thing over and over again. But Dead Cells broke the fucking curse, so to speak, and yeah, that's a noteworthy accomplishment all in itself. Also, the game is just really fun, which is kind of important.
Yeah, I'm like verging on triple digit hours in Dead Cells, and one, I'm not tired of it, but two, I also still suck at it. So it's one of those games where you will never be that great at it. You can get you can definitely develop skill, but you're never gonna be a master of it. It never gets boring.
Yeah, it's definitely on the list. It was kind of a toss up for me between that and The Messenger. Just because, like, that one feels really, really, really fucking good. Just all around, every part of it feels fucking beautiful. Every power feels organic and well implemented.
So do you think that one or the other is on the list?
One or the other is on my list, yeah.
Yeah, mine too. I mean, The Messenger was really close. I mean, if there was a top 15, The Messenger would be in there, but I have The Messenger just outside of my top 10. I feel like it loses steam halfway through, and that's the big sort of criticism I have with it. I find overall, Dead Cells is just a better overall package. The Messenger just kind of loses me halfway through. Also had a hell of a time getting those controls and the timing down. A little bit more punishing for me. But yeah, Dead Cells cracked my top 10. The Messenger did not.
I think it might be worth digging into that middle point of The Messenger a little bit more, but I'll precede that with a disclaimer that the potential is there for us to spoil every game of 2018 on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
if you don't want to be spoiled on anything, you should probably go finish anything that you care about first, because we're probably going to blow it wide open.
Spoils.
Think of a few games that we're going to probably dive pretty deep on. But yeah, you mentioned the midpoint, Trev, and that's where it kind of changes from that Ninja Gaiden-alike to being a little more traditional Metroidvania.
Right.
Yeah, I have to say that my like love for it is definitely more strongly with the Ninja Gaiden homage. Not that I don't love a good Metroidvania, which it's hard to like we were saying before, it's hard to get one of those in your life. A lot harder than it is to just get like a Metroidvania game, but I don't know, I just felt it was stronger as a Ninja Gaiden title.
Yeah. I think that's probably what's going to undo it if it ends up falling off the list. So do we put Dead Cells in at 10 and Messenger at 10B? See how that goes?
Yes, yeah, it goes. See, so as we shake down everybody's top 10, let's see how that goes.
Garrett, any deep thoughts on Dead Cells or The Messenger?
I think it's the perfect spot for it. I haven't played The Messenger, so I think Dead Cells works at 10 for me.
All right. Well, let's see how we feel in a bit. Let's leave that as is with Dead Cells 10 Messenger 10B/11. We do have a Google Doc open where everyone can kind of see what we're doing, and I have locked in Hitman 2 Fuck You All at the top, number 1.
Yeah, that's a temporary home for that game, heads up.
It's going to enjoy its moment in the spotlight because it'll only be there tonight.
You know, I'm going to save my soapbox for that game for later because it's coming in like it's going to come in like a wrecking ball and it's going to mess things up.
Would you say it's going to come in like the suitcase I've seen in all those videos? It's like a homing missile.
Yes, absolutely it is.
Exciting.
James, you have something to bring to the table here?
I think my number 9 would probably be fucking Monster Hunter World.
Ooh. That didn't crack my top 10.
It's nowhere near for me.
Yeah,
I mean-
because it doesn't fucking tick all your fucking boxes, but like they took a formula that worked really well and basically got people hopelessly addicted and was also good and made it better. I don't know, man.
The problem,
on the surface, it's a good pick. It's got a 90 Metacritic score average. It shipped like over 5 million copies in 3 days after release, which is incredibly impressive. So sales, review-wise, it absolutely backs up a top 10 rating.
the problem for me with Monster Hunter World is that it tries to tick every box. You know, like 20, 30 hours into that game, it's still giving you tutorials and deep, like 11, 12 step tutorials about systems. And, you know, I just found that so unnecessary. I know people love that, but as someone who wanted to just play the game at that point, to be loaded down with more and more and more, always more, I don't know, it didn't resonate with me. I know that a ton of people love that game, though.
Yeah, and I mean, look, just because it's not in the top 10 doesn't mean it's not a great game. I would agree with you. I just think it's not quite there. And for me, along the same, I just found, it was just, I found it a bit daunting having to go through all those tutorials and just, it felt like such a grind, and it didn't feel all that welcoming for me, who is really a newcomer to the franchise. But again, I say that with hesitancy. It's still a great game. Just for me, didn't quite crack the top 10, but fully understand if it's in all three of yours top 10.
I kind of feel like it was actually a bit more accessible than the previous entries in the series.
Yep, totally.
And, to me, it kind of feels like Dark Souls in that it's just about your skills. Like, there's a lot of tutorials. There's a lot of lore, a lot of shit you have to absorb. But at the end of the day, it's just pick a weapon that you can make work for you and get real fucking good with it. And then you're going to have a fine time, you know? But, like, I do understand how it's really easy to get bogged down in a lot of the other, like, shit. Like, a lot of the other stuff is on display there. But I don't know, it's just got the core gameplay loop is so intensely satisfying that I have to at least fucking argue for its position in the 10.
Okay.
If it's in the 10, Dead Cells has to move up.
Well, we need to hear from Garrett. Garrett will be the voice of reason here.
I don't get too hung up on lists like this, so I still think wherever Dead Cells you guys think it works for me.
Thank you for your help.
Yeah.
Yeah, no strong, persuasive thoughts about Monster Hunter World.
Yeah, I actually only played the beta for that, or the demo, whatever it was, so I don't have many thoughts towards Monster Hunter. I hear it's great, though. All my buddies played for hours on end.
Okay.
James, I think you might be alone here.
Well, fine, you fucks.
This is going exactly how I thought it would, by the way.
No.
All right, who's next?
Garrett, why don't you go?
Are we talking about number 9 now?
I think
that's cool. I can see you updating that list in real time.
You can pull out whatever game you want and stick it wherever you feel it deserves to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
I haven't played 4 out of the top 10 that are currently in the top 10, or at least based on the team's votes. I guess the consensus list is the list we're building right now. Is that correct?
Correct, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the votes. You can talk about whatever number you want. If you want to throw out your number 1 right now, that's totally okay.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with God of War at number 1, personally.
All right, go on.
I mean, pretty much what everyone else has said. I mean, it has a killer narrative. I really like the the direction as far as the way they tell that story. I like the minimal cast. It feels like a very reserved story and isn't too in your face. I like how there's mentions of other gods, but it isn't as, like I said, in your face as the previous games. I like the evolution of Kratos as a character. I think it really works not only for just progressing him into someone that's a tad more interesting, of course, but also it's a entire 180 in comparison to his previous persona, and it makes for an interesting story going forward. And I think more than it just being an excellent game as far as gameplay and storytelling, and of course just visuals and audio as well. But I think as far as completely revolutionizing a franchise, and I think someone on Twitter recently called it a second chance, and I thought it was the best way of describing the success of that game. Is it's like a perfect representation of what a second chance can bring. And I hadn't given much thought to God of War post God of War 3. I never played Ascension, but of course God of War 4, as we know it now, is God of War, blew my mind. And of course there are many other games I could praise just as highly as God of War this year, but I think because of God of War, it being technically the fourth game in the franchise as far as the continuity is concerned, and it changing that much and being that successful and that good, I think that's why, to me, it stands above the rest as game of the year, personally.
There you go. Now that was pretty persuasive.
It was, and for me, it was also my game of the year. It's funny where I landed, because I mean, for me, my top three was quite easy. It was God of War, it was Red Dead 2, it was Spider-Man. I could find faults with Red Dead 2. I could find faults with Spider-Man. But I really couldn't find any faults with God of War. As I sit back and think, well, shit, what didn't I like about this? And there's really nothing I didn't like. I feel like they nailed it on every single point. It was such an intimate, personal experience. I just loved every minute of it. And I mean, it doesn't have the highest Metacritic score of all the games on our list. You can definitely make a case for others, but yeah, I landed with God of War. And yeah, I agree with Garrett on many points there.
So I have God of War a little lower, but not because I don't think it is deserving of being number one, because it truly has an incredibly good narrative. It is like far and away the best in the series, but probably the best narrative of the year, if not, very, very close. And it's full of incredible moments that make your skin tingle, and it makes your hair stand up, and you're like, holy shit. And the reason I marked it down a little lower than my top two is thinking back to the actual act of playing the game. I felt like I had less fun playing the game than my top two.
I'm kind of on Paul's side here, because like God of War is a beautiful, ambitious, powerful fucking game, but the moment-to-moment gameplay for me doesn't hold up as well as it does for like a couple of the other titles in this list. Because like at the end of the day, like you can make the most like amazing fucking gaming experience, but if it peaks at like a handful of points, I don't care as much. The thing I'm gonna remember, and the thing I'm gonna come back to in future years and in future lists is the fucking blow by blow gameplay, like how things actually are from scene to scene, from screen to screen, from like fucking moment to moment. That to me is more important than basically any other element of a game's presentation.
So based on that, what did you have above God of War?
Oh man, fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah, me too. I have Spider-Man at 1.
Yeah, because like every element of the gameplay is really fucking fun, and that's really important. And I mean, even like the dumb little side quest shit that like doesn't matter and does nothing and doesn't really help, like
and doesn't really even fit with the game.
Like the fucking like some of the stuff was just like, it's just there to be finished. And for most open world games, for me, that's one of the reasons I didn't like Horizon Zero Dawn as much, because it just felt like, oh, well, I got to tick all these boxes off on the map, I guess, go do these things. And the funny thing is, Spider-Man is the same shit, but I love every second of it because of the way the gameplay feels. You're like, oh, I'm gonna swing between some buildings and fly through the air like a fucking superhero. Yeah, and then get there and do whatever it is, and I'm like, this is fun. Who gives a fuck? It's great, and it is just like you're getting collectibles. It's like I don't care. I had a blast getting them and getting to them, and it's like every element of the gameplay is like just so fucking fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's the most fun I had playing a game this year. Some of the most fun I've ever had playing a game for sure. It's just so fluid and responsive, and it is undeniably Spider-Man in a really unapologetic way. The combat is a lot of fun. You don't feel invincible, but you feel powerful. But Spider-Man's he's not Superman. He's vulnerable to a variety of different things. So, like, you still feel that when you're playing in a combat sense, but also the traversal, like swinging around. There's a reason that Garrett's swinging around the city videos have done crazy volume on YouTube, because it's super fun to watch and even more fun to do. So I think that's what sets Spider-Man apart for me. But it also has the narrative components that are in God of War. I won't say that they're as well done moment to moment, but I think it's really well paced, and it's, as far as superhero stories go, it's as good as you could hope for.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting the moon there. I mean, it is Spider-Man. I'm not expecting like the amount of lore and backstory that we received with God of War. I found God of War is just there's so many layers to the narrative in God of War, and not so much in Spider-Man. I mean, and look, I so much of what you guys say I agree with. It is just truly a fantastic game. In any other year, it probably gets my game of the year. Like, I absolutely loved it. It's easily the best Spider-Man in the series by a long shot. Everything, even though it felt familiar, it still felt fresh. I mean, I think my only knock on Spider-Man would be, well, is there anything innovative with this particular Spider-Man? Well, not really. It just does what other games have all done before, and does it really well. And I did find that, especially towards the second half, for me, it got a little bit repetitive. Some of those side quests felt a little bit, it felt like it dragged on a little bit more than it needed to. But again, this is like, we're talking 1 and 1A. It's a terrific game, and it's really hard to come up with some complaints and critiques of Spider-Man. It really is.
Well, it sounds like we're pretty set that's the 1-2. Would everyone agree on that?
Yeah, which is surprising. I would feel that somebody here would be clamoring for Red Dead 2. I mean, it is, it's the big triumphant game of many people's lists, and it's just this incredibly deep 65-hour campaign that is amazing, which I'm surprised it's not, between the four of us, nobody has it as number one.
So, dude, all that game has is horse balls, right? So that's the only thing we have to say about Red Dead.
It's got big horse balls for sure. I think Red Dead is an unbelievable achievement and really sets the bar for the next set of open world games way higher than it has any business being. But holy shit, does it refuse to respect your time. Like, it is a real slog to get through just because there's so much of it. And I mean, that's a great thing from one perspective, but as someone who became very interested in Arthur's story and seeing where that went and where it ends up, which is jaw-dropping, to be honest, it's really hard to get there. And I think the mission design in the main story, like the open world stuff is second to none. That incidental kind of the hunting and the fishing and all those kinds of things are fantastic. But the mission design in the main story is really, really repetitive. It all boils down to either shooting 10,000 O'Driscolls or chasing someone on a horse, more or less. And that's fine. That's how quests are designed in games. But when the surroundings of that are so incredible, to have that be the thing you have to do time and time and time again, it's really, really hard to get to the end of that 65 hours and see where Arthur ends up. So for me, I have Red Dead 2 at number 6.
Wow. Oof. I don't know. I mean, Red Dead is the highest reviewed game of the year. Like, it has a 97 meta, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, review scores aren't everything, but it really is sort of a technical triumph. It's like, in terms of depth, I don't think anything else on the top 10 even comes close to the experience. I mean, you could buy one game, and this game would occupy... Man, you could buy one game this year for your console of choice, and you could be busy all year long. Like, it has that much to offer. And we haven't even really touched on Red Dead Online, which just opened up, 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
And that just sort of creates a whole new world, and it's unbelievable. I mean, for me, I'm not a fan of... I found the controls a bit clunky, but it's still an incredible experience.
The thing is, for me, a lot of that is, and the reason it's getting such high review scores is because it's a real technical achievement. It looks fantastic.
For sure.
The music's great. The animation is ridiculous. The persistence of the world and how people remember you and all that stuff is unbelievable. Like, it's shocking how good that is. But like James was saying, the actual act of playing the game is not as fun as a bunch of other things.
So we are split. We are split with God of War and Spider-Man. I don't know how we're going to resolve this.
I think we should just leave that for now. Leave that as
we'll revisit
a slash and come back to it.
Can we take a moment to talk about the fucking backstabbing betrayal that the entire team committed on my behalf? You know, it's not anywhere on the top 20, you motherfuckers. Octopath. You fucking jerks. Jesus Christ, that game is so good. If I wasn't working for COG, I would literally still be playing it right now.
Yeah, I don't have
other
that
shit to do.
Anywhere on my list.
Yeah, because nobody gives a shit about the beautiful, engrossing, perfectly designed fucking 2D RPG, the best one that Square Enix has made in at least 10 years, and nobody gives a fuck. And seriously, if I wasn't reviewing games at a breakneck pace all the time, I would just be playing Octopath.
I think Octopath is a great game. However, I think Octopath is a very flawed game in that, in focusing on so much on the mechanics of battle, which are, to be fair, very, very good and a lot of fun to play around with, I think they just really shit the bed on the story aspect. It's... I don't know.
Hear that, James? Let that sink in.
Yeah.
They shit the bed.
They shit the bed. Well, this just betrays my it reveals my priorities, because like I said, for me, it's what I'm doing moment to moment, and in that game, it's mastering a dense, complex, rewarding combat system that like begs for fucking experimentation and mastery and new configurations at every turn, and it rewards your experimentation and it rewards your curiosity, and it fucking the combat as far as RPGs go is like peerless in its fucking category. Like, there's no game I've played in years that has that same level of depth. But yeah, the story is a hot fucking mess in that there actually isn't one. Not a cohesive one. There's just 8 pretty decent stories, some good, some not that great, that don't really come together the way I'm sure some people wanted. There's like a little threaded narrative that sort of feeds through each tale that kind of resolves in a way at the end, but like not the way people want. And honestly, when I first heard of Octopath Traveler, I thought it was just going to be another one of Square Enix's shitty Saga games, like the Saga Frontier series, where they just have like a bunch of disconnected stories, all of which sucked, that came together to form a game that sucked. And I was like, well, I have very low expectations for this. But then what they produced was mechanically breathtaking fucking experience that still suffered from that same story. So for me, I mean, I was 1,000% sold. I was totally in. And
so where do you have Octopath, James?
Considering the state of the list as it is, I would probably put Octopath for me at like number 5.
Oof.
Wow.
Yeah. I know.
Whoa.
Unpopular opinion, but yeah, I would put Octopath at number 5.
So I would definitely have Dead Cells above Octopath.
I would as well, according to my list.
I'm going to go with Dead Cells because I've played it way more than Octopath.
Yeah.
So what do we think about Octopath sneaking in at number 10?
Well, we could throw it up there and then see where we land, because there's a lot of other games to get through. So we could see.
Okay.
If not, we'll make like a separate James Game of the Year awards, like just a sort of a separate, and we can have like a special the James Award.
Yeah, COGconnected presents the James Award, or the James Awards 2018.
The top 10 is all Octopath
James,
Traveler.
you on camera with a glass of scotch discussing your top 10 games next to like a fireplace would be phenomenal.
I really like that idea.
I have all of those things at my hot new house, by the way. So,
man, that needs to happen.
Oh boy. Well, we've got a giant gap in the middle. Who wants to fill in something that we haven't talked about yet?
I got one for number 5.
All right.
Forza Horizon 4 at 5. Like, it is a truly graphical, stunning achievement. Like, the thing, every time I fire it up, I think to myself, oh my god, this is fantastic. Like, talk about a game that really doesn't have many flaws at all. I mean, I think the only thing holding this game back in my mind is the whole Forza fatigue. Like, I feel like Forza's been done to death, and it just kind of feels tired to me, the franchise, but on its own, it's easily the best racing game we played this year, maybe in the last 3 years. It scores through the roof. It's always, Forza Horizon 4 was plus 90. It was 92 on Metacritic with over 90 reviews in. It's just a fantastic open world driving game. I love it. I'm throwing it on number 5. Let's see what you guys say. Let's see how it falls on the Plinko board here.
I have it at number 12.
Oh,
damn.
Well, yeah. And I feel like you do that because, it's a racing game, and we have a tendency, us in the biz, we tend to knock sports games and racing games and even Call of Duty. We're like, we're dismissive of it. And I feel like a lot of Game of the Year lists will be dismissive of Forza Horizon for that reason. They'll be like, it's a racing game. It can't possibly be considered in the same breath as like, Far Cry or Far Cry 5 or Spider-Man or anything like that. And I say it absolutely should be.
It's really fucking fun. Like, it's really, really fun.
Right. And it's intense and glorious.
So the reason it fell that far for me is when it came out, I played it furiously for about 5 hours. And then one day I didn't play it, and then I never played it again. It is really mechanically solid, and it does have a ton of cars, and it looks stunning. But if that's the argument we're going to use against Spider-Man being number 2 instead of number 1, that it doesn't do anything new, Forza really doesn't do anything new.
Well,
so is it
fair.
one of the best and most innovative games of the year? Best, maybe. Innovative, definitely not.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
You slayed us, Paul. You slayed us all.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, there's just like radio silence there for what seems like 5 minutes. Like, what do we say? You're just like, just trampled on our feelings.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think number 12 seems like a good spot for Forza.
None of you other two banana heads are speaking up. So I
was
guess
thinking,
it's 12.
if we were doing a top 10 list of technical achievements, I think Red Dead and Forza would be at the top of the conversation. Definitely.
Well, and I think if we look at best graphics, which I believe it should best looking game, it's top 5 for best looking.
Oh yeah.
Didn't crack our top 3. It cracked the top 5.
That's fair. What? Where do you guys think Super Smash Bros. Ultimate should fall on this list?
Number 8.
It sounds like a solid 8 to me as well.
Yeah. I was kind of right in that boat too, 8, 9.
I can see that.
Well, it's Nintendo's best exclusive, really. I mean, wait.
Not even close. Not even close. It's
what's of the year, sorry. Of the year. Nintendo's best exclusive of the year.
Mm-hmm. Easily.
What beats it?
Maybe Octopath, if you're James.
James would say Octopath. Yes, that's factually correct.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Octopath more than Smash Brothers, but Smash Brothers is really, really fucking solid. Like, there's a shit ton of content, and the fighters feel pretty distinct, and there's 70 of them. And like that's really fucking impressive to me. Like even like the Echo type fighters like Princess Peach and Princess Daisy, for example. Just 2 regal women in full-size dresses with similar movement styles, but they still distinguish them with actual moves to the point where they feel like their own fucking characters and not just like straight up clones of one another. And they do little things like that all over the fucking board, and all the new characters they introduced are like a varied and fascinating bunch, even though I don't love every single one of them because I don't know, there's just a certain style of Smash Fighter that I just absolutely don't fuck with. But
yeah, based on limited playtime from the last, few days, I feel pretty comfortable saying I think this is the best Smash game they've made.
Yeah.
It feels really, really good. It's possibly, I think Garrett and I were saying this back at E3, but it feels a little bit more technical than games have in the past. There's less of that kind of loosey-goosey, anything can happen. I feel a little bit more in control of what's going on as I'm playing, even amidst the chaos, which I think is a good thing. And the amount of content, you can't argue with that. It's ridiculous, the number of characters and stages, and that's only going to grow.
Yeah, you're not alone. I haven't played it yet, but it's from everything I'm reading, people are saying it's the most complete Smash yet. The gameplay's been improved. The roster's massive. The nostalgia factor is super high. Yeah, and I think the only reason why it's not on, perhaps it's not getting that Game of the Year buzz, is because it was just released like last Friday. So
yeah,
and so I think it's missing some of that Game of the Year chatter. But yeah, 93 average score on Metacritic. It's the highest selling game on Amazon, which is incredible. How is that possible? The thing's only been for sale for 4 days, and it's the highest selling game on Amazon for 2018, which is unbelievable.
Whoa.
Yeah, right. That's what I read the other day anyway.
Wow. I think one of the biggest positives I can really say about the game is that it's the first fucking Switch game where I've felt pretty comfortable using the Joy-Cons for controlling it.
Man, fuck the Joy-Cons. I have that written down as part of my notes about Smash. It's point 1 is exactly as fun as we all hoped, and 2 is fuck Joy-Cons.
Listen, I know that, great points, one and all, but that's just what I have to work with, and it's made a lot of other fighting games pretty fucking untenable. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna hold out until I get a Pro Controller or whatever. But with Smash, I'm like, whatever, it's fine. It's fine. It works just the way I wanted to. It's like,
yeah, you can get by. You're right.
It's because it's like the controls are simple and accessible, yet with enough depth that you can establish a pretty complex fucking pyramid of fucking abilities, even among your like friend circle, and even if you're all using the same pretty dang basic control setup, and even like not even like using the pair in the fucking grip. Like I've played the game with just like the 1/2 Joy-Con and gotten by just fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think whoever said that might have been Trevor is right, that if this had come out a month or two ago, we'd probably be bumping it up the list a bit more. But as it stands right now, I think around number 8 is where Smash should be.
Feels like a good spot.
Where do you guys think Red Dead should live?
That's a solid 3 for me.
See, yeah, it's definite top 3 for me. It's without question. It's top 3. But Paul, James, I don't feel that you guys are there.
I don't
Come on,
Paul's
boys.
same grievances about the fucking gameplay loop. I understand that it's like a lot of its other achievements are pretty fucking remarkable. I don't know.
Listen,
I mean,
there were people working 100 hours a week on this game. Like, let's cut
people
them
work
some
100
slack.
hours a week on lots of games. It's not, you can't, that's not a point
They
against it.
they work their ass off on this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's pouring a stiffy.
I needed a topper.
So, like I said, I have Red Dead at 6.
Oh my god, that's just insanity.
I would put it comfortably at 4, potentially at 3.
So, before we try to stick this somewhere, let me bring up one of the things that I think is above it and worth talking about, and that's Celeste.
Oh,
that tough 2D platformer.
That tough 2D platformer.
Made by 5 people?
Yeah. And it was an absolute shocker for me. I did not expect to like this game as much as I do. Enjoyed Super Meat Boy, but this is something that I cannot get out of my head. It was completely unexpected, ridiculously addictive, like controller snapping, challenging, and 100% charming and heartfelt. The game design and the characters are a great example of how to write and build an experience for players, to have them connect to the world and the characters without needing a huge budget, without needing crazy good voice actors, without needing motion capture. Madeline's journey to get to the top of the mountain, that being like the only thing in the game, really, really hit me, and it's stuck with me for a long, long time. And I think the reason for that is it's the whole package really comes together. I know I didn't get as much support as I was hoping for in the best music category, because I think Celeste has the best music of the year. But the music and the writing and the gameplay and the pixel art, they all really come together to be this thing that's greater than the sum of its parts. And goddamn is it satisfying. So I have Celeste at number 2. Comfortably at number 2.
Whoa. Slow down.
I have Celeste at 4.
I have it at 7.
I could put that at 3.
Oh,
Yeah,
I totally agree
a-
with what you say, though, Paul.
I think it's a definite top 5.
100% for me, top 5.
100% for me, top 10. Top 7. 100% top 7.
So what do we do? Do we take an average here? I'm going to assume you guys want Red Dead above Celeste.
I feel like Red Dead should be above Celeste.
I don't know, man. I could easily put Celeste at 3 and Red Dead at 4, but again, you could flip that around and I'd be almost as satisfied, because like it is quite impressive that fucking Red Dead Redemption 2 is such a like beautiful, powerful fucking experience. But on the other hand, like there's a lot of that fucking time when you're playing it, when you're just kind of grinding and fucking trying, chasing dudes on horseback and hunting, and it's just like sometimes it's great, sometimes it's a job, but there's no time like that in Celeste. There's no point where you're like, man, this is really boring. It's just, fuck me, I can't put this down.
Yeah. Yeah, the level design is really special in Celeste. It never becomes expected. Like, none of the puzzles end up being something where you're like, I know how to solve this right away. It's a lot of trial and error and a lot of fucking up because your thumbs won't do what you want them to do. And I'm someone who gets mad at games. I'm someone who's not above smashing a controller if the game is unfair. But I never got to that point with Celeste because I felt like the game was being fair to me. And I felt like I was not doing the game justice. So to get to that point where I did manage to, beat one of the B-sides or whatever and conquer that challenge, it felt so satisfying. And that just kept pulling me back to the game way more than almost anything else of the year.
This might be an old thing because I'm the older of the bunch. You young bucks like these punishing experiences that just require damn near perfection to get through. And that's kind of my biggest knock on the game. It's like, oh my God, I need to be perfect to get through this. It requires a ton of finesse. And have you seen me? Do I look like someone with a ton of finesse? Like, honestly, I don't have the level of finesse required to make it through this game. So while I appreciate everything that it does, including those lightning fast respawns, God bless those, because you will die. Well, I died a shit ton. So thank God it threw me back into the experience lightning fast. And it's definitely a charming story. It's beautiful. And again, it's in my top 10. I just didn't feel it was that high on our list. But hey, I respect that you young bucks are all vouching hard for Celeste to be in like the top 4, if not top 3. I can roll with that.
Trev, I've seen you cut a rug with some pretty good finesse at a fair few parties, my friend.
In a Chris Farley kind of way. Fat guy in a little coat.
Yeah, Celeste is one of those games that has that perfect blend of difficulty, reward, and like sublime control setup to the point where you're never like, man, if only the fucking game worked a little bit better and then I could do that thing that I just know I could do. You never feel that way. You're just like, I can fucking do this. You give me 1, 2, 4, 6 more tries, I'm gonna fucking have this.
Yeah.
And it's gonna feel like actually climbing a mountain would. And that's big. That's like, I think the last game that really did that for me and made it work was Bloodborne, which is still in my top 10 of games just generally because it has that same blend. And I feel like Celeste has a similar formula to it that really deserves some fucking accolades.
Yeah. Like, Celeste is the kind of game where, it has collectibles. Like, you can get strawberries throughout the various levels, and there's not really any reason to get them. But I went way out of my fucking way, you know, racking up hundreds and hundreds of deaths to get those stupid strawberries because I wanted to. I wanted to feel that satisfaction of really nailing a sequence of ridiculous jumps and dashes to get the strawberry. And I don't want to say that's underappreciated in gaming these days, where, you know, we're leaning so hard on narrative, but it's something that isn't appreciated as much as it has been in the past. And I think Celeste does a great job of making that more accessible with a strong control scheme and some other things to latch onto, like the characters and the music and the, you know, ridiculously nice looking pixel art.
There's definitely something to be said for an achievement like that, where it's just to say you did it, like not towards any larger goal, just to be like, yeah, I got the strawberries, got them all, motherfuckers.
Yeah, when you make it to, like, you complete a B-side, for example, and you like pull your head up from what you're doing and you like look around your house and there's no one around and you're still smiling like an idiot, like, hey, did you see that? Did you guys notice what I did? Oh, there's no one here. Oh, that's all right. I still did it.
Yeah, I could easily stick that at number 4. No problem.
Can I get a number 3?
For me, yes. I don't know about the rest of the team.
I think I'm gonna stand my ground at 4 on that one.
Houston, do we have a problem?
Celeste with 4? Yeah, we can roll. Let's go with 4. Let's go. I'll go with the. I'll go with you guys.
You know what? I'll take that. Since I thought I was gonna have a battle to get it there, but I'm glad I had James on my side here.
No.
Yeah, well,
because one more game on the list just reduces the chances of Hitman 2 making the list. So yeah, let's just get it.
Fuck
on
you
there.
guys. Hitman 2's getting on the list.
Hitman 2's not getting on the list. It's getting on the same list with Just Cause 4.
Oh, fuck that. It's way better than Just Cause. Oh, man.
Which I think we've got the lowest review score out there, by the way. Oof,
Haley did not like it, did she?
It's an unflattering 58 out of 100.
Ooh.
Oof. That's one I won't be sending the link to the PR rep.
Let them find that puppy on their own.
They can do that digging themselves. Oof.
It's like 10 or 15 points under the average. That's not that bad.
No, exactly. You know, yeah, if it was a 10-point scale, it's like 1.5. Like, that's barely any.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're about an hour into this little discussion here, and we've got some games in places. But I was thinking, as we're presumably somewhere in the vicinity of halfway through this discussion, it'd be a good time to run through some of the other categories, which we had the whole team vote on, and come up with a bunch of winners for a bunch of different things. Like, we had almost 30 categories this year.
Which is insane.
Insane. And all this stuff will be, for the most part, they'll be in list articles on the site, or at very least in videos on the YouTube channel, which you can go and enjoy and see some of the great stuff that our teams put together. So, yeah, why don't we just run through some of these categories and let you guys give some of your thoughts about why you think these things won. A lot of them were crushing victories.
Yeah?
Yeah. One of the ones that was not a crushing victory was for best looking game, where our top 3-1 was God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Spider-Man.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 awfully pretty looking games. I mean, really, all 3 very pretty.
I think Spider-Man won out here because of the level of detail in the world. A lot of people mentioned that in the Y box. Like, if you're looking at a lamppost or a paper box, the texture quality is completely unnecessary. Like, it does not need to be that high, but if you go and you get right up there with the camera and zoom in, like, the quality is stupidly good. Same deal with the characters. They're just gorgeous and well captured and well animated, and it was comic book in motion.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think the photo mode really helped that too. That helped sort of generate the buzz with
Mhm.
everybody sharing their gorgeous photos from Spider-Man Online. Like in the days after it was released, that's all everybody seemingly was doing, was uploading these cool pictures from the game. So I
Yeah.
think that helped.
Yeah. It didn't hurt, that's for sure.
Right.
I think if you're gonna make a beautiful ass game like that and you don't put a high powered photo mode in there, like what the fuck are you doing? Like you
Yeah.
worked for years on this engine and it's amazing. Let people revel in it, you know?
Yeah, I love the comic book stamps. It really was a game changer in the photo modes. I think Sony generally has some of the best photo modes out of anything, but Spider-Man's was head and shoulders above.
Solid.
And then here at COG, we decided to split up looks into best looking game, which is what it sounds like, the best looking game, and then best style, which kind of removes that technical aspect and lets anything under the sun shine. And there were a ton of nominations for this category. Things
Right.
like Return of the Obra Dinn and Sea of Thieves and The King's Bird, which got quite a few nominations actually. But our top 3 or 4 there were Dragon Ball Fighters, Octopath Traveler, Tetris Effect, and coming in hot at the last minute because Jason Finelli said, "Holy fuck, you guys, you have to think about this game." That is Grease? Gris?
Gris.
Gris?
Oh,
Gris?
fucking yes, yes,
It's-
yes.
In
And-
Paris, it's pronounced Gris.
Gris.
Glee.
I've heard the developers saying Grease a few times, but yeah, man, like, he sent some of his footage over, and holy shit, it's not even close. This is one of the most stylish games I've seen.
Well, at the time of recording, with none of us. Well, wait a minute, Garrett, you've probably played it, haven't you yet? Maybe.
Yeah, I can
Maybe you
vouch for Finelli's feelings towards that one. I've played it a fair bit myself. I've probably played more than half of it by now. Yes, it's breathtaking. In every sequence, it's unbelievable. And it keeps evolving too, which is what's amazing about it. Musically too, that's a huge shout out I have is for a music category. Also consider that one for music.
Ooh,
At least an honorable mention at the very least.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Finelli described it as a moving painting, and he's got it nailed with that phrasing. Like, even if you go and watch the trailer, it is ridiculously good looking.
Yeah, I was immediately on board after seeing a minute and 30 seconds of footage. It's like, yeah, I'm buying this when it comes out. That's all there's to it.
Yeah, it was like I watched the trailer and immediately said, "Fuck everything else on this list." But yeah, moving on, we have the pixel art category. Tons of pixel games, obviously these days. Things like Deltarune, Moonlighter, Into the Breach. But our top 3 ended up being Celeste, Dead Cells, and the winner, Octopath Traveler.
Hey, James, one for you, Octopath. Woo!
Well, because it does pretty good pixel art, but it also it blends 2D and 3D in a way that not a lot of people have done ever that I'm aware of. And it gives it this like tilt shifted kind of look that people are really into with like high powered expensive cameras. And they're just like, no, we're just going to do that with this fucking game. And it looks amazing all the time.
Yeah, it does.
And between that and the pixel art style where like your characters are just like the little chibi dudes and the bosses are like 8 times bigger in all their fucking crazy glory. Between these two elements, it made sure that like every scene was really, really fascinating to look upon. Like there was a lot of times when I was like doing the review for that game where I would just like snap a bunch of screenshots just because I just wanted more of them and like my hard drive because they looked so fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Octopath, great looking game. And I, for one, am a huge fan of the trend back towards pixel art and not being super realistic all the time. I love pixel art and what people are doing with that.
Well, the more realistic we get with our graphics, the more people are going to be like long for a different era. And especially when you're like an indie developer just starting out, it's a great way to get a foot in the door and be like, well, I can't make a photorealistic gaming experience like fucking Death Stranding whenever that eventually releases shortly before the heat death of the universe. But, I could do a pretty badass pixel art game if I decide to put in the time, right?
Mm-hmm. Moving on, one of my favorite categories, and one that I don't feel like a lot of people give too much recognition to, is one we like to call the feels. And we kind of round up anything that we think is a fantastic moment or a great sequence in any game of the year. And there were a lot of good nominees this year. One of which was a total runaway, like not even close on the voting. But some of the nominees that I thought were standouts were Getting Drunk with Lenny and Red Dead 2. The secret ending of God of War, if you actually go home after the game. Somebody nominated a sequence from Dragon Ball FighterZ where if you're playing as Trunks and you beat Frieza, there's a pretty cool dramatic finish at the end of that game, at the end of that fight, which nice. I did look up on YouTube, and I was like, yep, that stacks up. The top three that people actually voted for, though, going 3-1, is in Celeste when Madeline embraces her inner darkness. Spider-Man, Peter's Choice at the end of the game, heartbreaking. And number one, The Runaway, not even close, finally reaching the top of the mountain and releasing the ashes in God of War. And man, watching back some of the footage I captured of that is a freaking awesome moment.
Oh yeah, man, like that's, and it's such a simple premise that it delivers on so well.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, this is the goal, this is what we're doing. We're not, don't any really lofty, crazy bullshit. It's just, we got this journey to make, and we're gonna fucking make it, and then they do, and it's fantastic.
I think the stylistic choice to make it one continuous shot played into that quite a bit too, because the journey of Kratos and Atreus ended up being your journey as well. So actually getting to the end and releasing the ashes, it felt pretty personal. Carrying on, we decided to do an award for the best world building or the best lore in a game, and based on the votes, 3-1. Number 3 was Monster Hunter World. Number 2 was God of War. And number 1 was Red Dead 2. No surprise there.
None.
Some of that, the camp interactions and things like that, man. Unreal.
Yeah, it's those weird little asides that people tend to remember. Like, not necessarily the heavy narrative-driven stuff, but just like the things that just kind of happen around you.
Mm-hmm.
Just the things that sort of like the ordinary interactions in your journey, like those ones, they're the ones that you don't necessarily see coming, and they stick with you for a lot longer than you realize.
Yeah, I think everybody can probably come up with their favorite camp member pretty quickly, just based on what stories they'd shared with that person around the campfire, and I bet everybody's would be different. Moving on to best music. This was a crazy year for music. There were some fantastic soundtracks. And yeah, a lot of the ones that didn't even get that many votes, I did go back and listen through, and they're very, very strong. Like, for example, one that stood out to me was the Starlink soundtrack, which is really, really good. And
which not a lot of people would think of.
No.
Like, when I think of all the games we played this year, what features really great music, Starlink doesn't come to mind.
Yeah, but there's lots of other cool stuff there too, like Red Strings Club and Far Cry 5 had a great soundtrack, and Celeste had a great soundtrack, like I mentioned. But the top 3 that ended up making it into the top 3, number 3 was Into the Breach, number 2 was Tetris Effect, and number 1 was Spider-Man. Just really nailing that superhero vibe, and man, that score would have been very, very much at home in any of the AAA Marvel films, let alone any of the games.
Amen, brother.
Hey, I lobbied hard for Spyro Reignited. Like, it's the Police. It's the drummer from the Police. It's his music. It sounds fantastic.
Those are
How
some
is
great
it not
tunes.
even on? Yeah, right. How is it not even on the top 10? Ugh, so disappointed in you three. So disappointed. Not so much in Garrett, because he just said it's a great tune.
I've been playing a lot of
Disappointed.
Spyro the past week, so I second the notion.
Exactly.
Yeah, that game might be in the running for best remake of the year if we had that category. People seem to be really loving the Spyro.
Absolutely. And they should. It's spectacular. It's completely redone and built from the ground up.
Yeah.
In fact, they didn't even have the original source code when they rebuilt it, and it's Toys for Bob did a wonderful job on that game. They really did.
Really, I didn't know that about the source code. They did. That's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving along, we got some of the more narrative/performance focused ones, like best narrative. This was quite a tight race at the very, very top. Coming in at number 3, we had The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, which was a great hour or two. And number 2, Red Dead Redemption 2. And number 1, no surprise, God of War.
Which I'm surprised, like, Captain Spirit made it in, but Life is Strange 2, which I haven't had a chance to play yet, didn't make it in there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I played both, and Captain Spirit was definitely the more emotionally resonant story. Life is Strange 2 has a lot of potential. I think it's going to go some places. That first episode didn't quite have the impact of the first game.
Oh, right. It's just one episode.
Yeah,
so far.
that's
Got
the
it.
thing. Like, Life is Strange 2 could end up being one of the better stories told in the last few years, but we're still at the setup phase.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to revisit in 2019. That's really...
Yeah, hopefully they get the other 4 out next year. I think the second episode is supposed to be hitting at the end of January, so looking good so far there. For best performance, which is the best voice acting, lots and lots of good options. Almost the entire cast from Red Dead 2 got nominated in one form or another. The top 3, though, number 3, we got Christopher Judge as Kratos. Any of you guys watch the Game Awards and hear him say, "Read it, boy"?
So good.
Shit, yeah, that was amazing. And the top 2, which, honestly, this top 2 could have been flipped either way for me, but the votes are what the votes are. Number 2 was Alex McKenna as Sadie Adler. And number 1, Roger Clark, Arthur Morgan.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
I wasn't on board with Arthur at the beginning of the game. I didn't really think he was that great of a protagonist, but hit somewhere probably in chapter 4, you really start to get to know Arthur, and things take off. Some other ones, I'll just run through a few of these pretty quick here. Best NPC, we gave to Mimir in God of War. Best water, we gave to Sea of Thieves.
Nice.
Not that close. Best surprise went to Celeste. Best battle went to the first fight with the stranger in God of War.
Oh, that was so cool.
That wasn't close. That was a huge, huge landslide. For sexiest hero, the ever popular sexiest hero, we had some good conversation. Trevor's horse in the race didn't quite make it into the top 3.
Yeah, unbelievable. Once again, you guys missing the mark completely. Completely.
We had a man who was after his 18-year-old heart with Ivy from Soul Calibur 6.
Just look at her. You just have to look at her. Just look at her. The physics alone, incredible.
Yeah, I had some other great nominees in that category, like Agent 47 and Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The top 3 ended up being Kratos at number 3, Primrose from Octopath Traveler at number 2. She's got those hips that don't lie. And number 1 was Arthur Morgan. Who can say no?
I don't know.
I've never had them lie to me.
The thing that I used as my argument for Primrose is that she has that ability to like the allure ability where she'll like seduce a person, and her seduction powers are such that she can take away a like husband from his wife in front of their daughter,
Garrett.
which is like the sort of like sex power that you could weaponize and use to take over the world, like that kind of thing.
Where were we? Best shooter? No, we weren't there.
Best action adventure. That went to Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Best role-playing game. That went to Octopath Traveler.
Another one for you, James. Like,
That's,
my God.
yes,
We're just
yes,
spoiling you here.
yes.
Best shooter was a landslide for Black Ops 4.
Finally. That should really be in Game of the Year consideration, don't you think?
You think
Top
so?
10?
Nope.
No. I was just throwing that out there.
Guys, where the hell is Fallout 76 and all this?
You know what? I'm going to skip some of these other categories and get straight to most disappointing, where the top 3, number 3, State of Decay 2, number 2, Metal Gear Survive, and number 1, Fallout 76, by no small margin. However, I would like to point out that for some ungodly reason, I reviewed all 3 of these fucking games this year.
No, that's
God
a fun
damn
fact.
That's amazing.
I don't know whether I should laugh or apologize.
Hey man, they should have been good. They were disappointing though.
You know what? All 3 of those. I mean, I think many of us didn't have high hopes for Metal Gear Survive in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely had high hopes for Fallout 76 and State of Decay 2 for that matter. But yeah, all 3 of them just fucking shit the bed.
Yeah.
Just brutal.
I had like hopes for Fallout 76, but definitely not high hopes. I was like, hey, maybe it'll be a passable Fallout game. No.
It is not. It is so not.
So as I look at this list, how is Shadow of the Tomb Raider on most disappointing? Like, how is that possible? How did that get there?
I mean, it's one of the most disappointing games of the year for me.
Oh, why?
I expected it to be another 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10 game like Rise was, but you know, it really feels, and I didn't get this sense at E3, but it really feels like they had the B team on this one. Just, you know, it wasn't quite as tight. The narrative wasn't quite as good, and the puzzles weren't quite as strong, and everything just wasn't quite.
Yeah, I definitely feel you there. There's a little bit more of the same old there. I also think I think a little bit of the release, the timing of the release impacted it. Like I can't remember exactly when it released, but it really was kind of when it launched with very, very little buzz. So
yeah, well, it was in the wake of Spider-Man.
Right. I think, yeah, that's right. It was the week after. Not even a week after Spider-Man. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. I don't know if it would have scored better if it was in a different time slot there, but
I doubt it.
Yeah, they didn't do themselves any favors sales-wise.
No, I think many people were expecting it to finish with like that big, like, I mean, it is a trilogy, so they expected it to finish with that big bang, and it just didn't.
Yeah, just didn't. So I hope Crystal Dynamics is doing something else cool. There's always those rumors that they're working on an Avengers game. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. Do you guys think we should get back into this top 10? We got a few more spots to fill out.
We do.
Let's do it. Let's fucking make it happen.
Get her done. Who's got a game that has not been discussed thus far?
I've got one. And, well, actually, Garrett mentioned it earlier. Very briefly, he mentioned it. But this game it's part of a franchise, and it is the fastest selling title in the history of this specific franchise. And it was the second biggest launch of an Ubisoft title ever. Far Cry 5. Which is a game I absolutely love. Not without faults, So definitely not ready, willing to give it, a crown or a spot in the top 4. But for me, it would sit comfortably in top 5, top 6 on our list.
Whoa.
I enjoyed every moment of this game. I found the enemies interesting and twisted. I love the whole progression and smooth, enjoyable combat. Again, not my game of the year, but for me, top 10. So
I have
I'm
a
going
controversial statement to add to that monologue there. I think Far Cry 5's fishing mechanics are more fun than Red Dead's. Not that that makes it a better game, but I had a lot more fun
Shots
fishing in
fired.
Far Cry than I did in Red Dead.
I think you're right.
I mean,
Yeah,
damn it, brother, I am from the South after all.
Yeah. I think the only detractor for Far Cry 5 is the fact that it's more of the same. But
I agree.
I think they did a good job with pulling it into America and making it a middle America thing. Obviously, it's not realistic and it's not a real world kind of thing with the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of the Father's followers. But, none of these games are that realistic. I think it does a decent job kind of walking that line and, making a statement without stepping on too many toes, although they got pretty hot about this one.
They sure did.
I could put it in the top 10.
Now, let's not forget about Cheeseburger either while we're at it.
Oh, cheeseburger.
Right. With the diabetes.
Yeah, he had no beat us. He was just mauling fools left and right. Where do you guys think this fits then? Because it does have very, very strong shooting mechanics.
I'd probably, it's weird. I almost, not that this has any relation whatsoever, but as far as shooters are concerned, if I was going to battle it out between Far Cry and Call of Duty, I'd probably dump Call of Duty at 7. But if we're going with Far Cry, I think Far Cry sits at 7 for me.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it there. I mean, I know I'd be in the minority to even remotely discuss Call of Duty, but I mean, hey, if we're going to talk about the best Battle Royale experience of the year and the shooter that just kind of reigns supreme of the year, it's definitely Call of Duty. But I would, I mean, for just the overall package, Far Cry at number 7.
Yep.
I'm very happy with it there.
Yep.
I don't know. It sounds like you guys are kind of kicking at COD a little bit, and I think it's the best Call of Duty game in several years.
I'm not going to disagree. I mean, which is crazy because this year doesn't have the single player, which a lot of people were up in arms about. There's no single player. What the hell? Well, nobody's missing that single player like at all, and it's not hurting sales whatsoever either. So, wow.
Well, I think the multiplayer it got back to what people love about Call of Duty. I think they're in the right to leave the boost jumping and wall running to the Titanfall series and games like that and get back to the boots on the ground. Like World War II was a successful game, and this has been a very successful near future shooter. And I haven't had this much fun with Call of Duty multiplayer since probably Modern Warfare 2. Maybe?
Yeah, it's been a while since I prestiged my character twice now. I can't remember the last time I've done that. So, I mean, that alone says something to me. Usually, I'm playing Call of Duty hard for about a month, maybe 2, and then I'm packing it in for the year. Like, really. I'm never revisiting it. This year, it's been different. But is it top 10? Oof. Wow, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets best shooter. Like, we gave it best shooter award. I don't necessarily feel that it needs to be in our...
Yeah, I don't think it's in top 10 either.
No.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Far Cry 5 at 7. Easy pick.
All right. I'm going to bring up a couple things that I don't think anybody else is going to have any love for or want to get into the top 10. And I just want to mention them because I want to mention them. I think they're good and they're in my top 10. And one of those is Into the Breach.
Into the Breach is a fucking solid game, man. Like, no lie.
It is a kick-ass strategy game.
It was just outside my top 10. Just outside.
Yeah, I've got it at number 7, and I think it's easily the best strategy game of the year, but it's got so much flexibility and replayability. It's deceptively simple, and I think that's really the mark of a truly good strategy game, is when it feels like it's easy to play when you've got kind of the stock loadout, but you can get really crazy and you can go way outside the box and do some insane things, make it harder on yourself, but also make it way more satisfying. So I think it strikes that balance really well, a lot like FTL did, which was the previous game from the developer. But Into the Breach is something I haven't stopped playing since January.
It's a smart, well thought out experience where like every move matters. It's kind of remarkable that way, where it's you, every move just absolutely, has an impact. And I think I think it hits all the right notes, but for me, just sort of it lacked that necessary polish for game of the year consideration. But man, it's definitely one of the best strategy, if not the best strategy game of the year. And yeah, if you love those turn-based type games, you need to check out Into the Breach.
Yeah,
and it's funny. It seems like there's at least one turn-based game that makes it into our list or comes close to making it into our list every single year. And Into the Breach is that game this year, no doubt.
Yeah, man, it's cheap too. You can pick it up on your Switch, which is probably the best way to play it because you can take it on the go, and it's like $15 or something like that. It's hell of a value for the amount of hours you can get out of that thing. But yeah, I just wanted to give that game some props.
Okay, where do we want to put Detroit Become Human?
Ooh, I had that at 9, but I see we've already got a game at 9.
This is far from set in stone. I mean, we still have to make room at the very top for Hitman 2. So
yeah, I mean, Detroit didn't really necessarily score nearly as high as the other games in the top 10. 78 Metacritic score with over 100 reviews in. So, I mean, for me, I love the characters, I love the setting, I love the branching narratives. It was just a gorgeous game. But the cons, well, I think for me it lacked a little bit of the depth and exploration. I just found the experience pretty short as well. I hated having to use that fucking touchpad. And some of the and I'm just not a fan of quick time events in general, and I found it was a little bit much in the game, so that kind of held it back for me. But again, not trying to knock the game, it's in my top 10 for me. Probably not on many people's top 10 though. So I'd be perfectly comfortable leaving it out, but it was 9 on my list.
Yeah, it's not on my radar.
It's a story heavy game, but the story is so fucking ham-fisted that it's like it's kind of hard to like defend it super aggressively. Like for a guy who just makes like this, it's a story experience, and that's what it's all about, telling an amazing story. It's like it's not an amazing story, and that's like the only leg you're standing on. What the fuck are you doing, man? Like, I don't know.
But that's the weird thing about that game is that I agree with you, but when I was playing it, I really liked what I was playing, and I felt engaged with the characters. I thought Connor specifically was a great character. Did it do everything that maybe it could have done? Definitely not. But I think it's a really solid narrative experience and probably the best thing they've done, all things considered. But yeah, I don't think it should be in the top 10 for me.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go out on a fucking limb and say that Hitman 2 could probably sit pretty at number 5.
Ooh, yes!
Whoa.
Woo! Yeah, baby.
Once again, we're gonna have to turn to Garrett to be the voice of reason.
We arguing if Hitman's going to make the top 10?
Yeah, I want to put it at 5, man. I want it at 5.
Is that genuine? James wants it at 5?
Well, it's like you get lots of these big dumbass fucking sandbox games, or like Just Cause, for example. Here's a million different toys to do a million different things, but it's like none of it really feels fucking meaningful or significant or like connected to the story in any way. Whereas like with Hitman 2, it's like at the very least, like all this wacky shit you can do is much more expertly fucking baked into the core of the game. Like you know what I mean? Like the toolbox is smaller but more expertly crafted.
Yeah. I think the game changer for Hitman 2, which I have at number 4 for the record, is it is a perfect balance of fourth wall breaking. The game absolutely knows how ridiculous and stupid it is and embraces that, but then pretends to be serious in a hilarious way. So it leads to these situations that make absolutely no sense, and it's a video game, for lack of a better term, and it exists for enjoyment alone. That's why they've built it, is to have fun with. They're not expecting you to have, some deep, meaningful experience with it, but it's also got some of the best level design in any game around, and the systems interaction it's fantastic fun to play around with. Mixing and matching the number of outfits with the homing briefcase, with the explosive rubber duck, with some of the ongoing value that they're providing with the elusive targets and stuff like that doesn't suck. So it's going to keep you coming back to this game. And if you want to talk about value as far as a video game goes this year, you spend your $70 or $80 to get the Hitman 2 content plus the Hitman 1 content. It's literally hundreds of hours of content that you're not going to get bored with, because it lets you experiment and it lets you play around with every single aspect of it.
Okay, but Paul, you brought this up before. What does it do? What kind of innovation does this Hitman bring? What is different about this one?
The Hitman 2 has mirrors. It has mirrors. So you're
so like how Madden has like new blades of grass?
Oh no,
like
Hitman 2 has grass too. It has tall grass now,
way.
so you can crouch down in the grass and you become invisible to every NPC, which is maybe
There's better looking shadows.
The tall grass is maybe one of my favorite features in Hitman 2 because, like I said, the game knows how silly it is. So if you're standing in tall grass and you do something like throw a fire axe through someone's head, everyone's going to look at you and immediately get upset. But then if you crouch down, you instantly become invisible to every NPC in the game. They're like, "Oh, what happened? I don't know. Guys, did you see what happened?" No, I didn't see it. It is a brilliant game. And if you're the kind of person who likes to have fun, which it sounds like you guys fucking aren't, Hitman 2 is the best game of the year.
Hey, let me say this.
Your fandom's it's gotten out of control.
No,
I'm kidding.
It's number 4.
I'm okay with it being at 5, and I'll say why. I have not played Hitman 1 or 2. I dabbled in, I think it was Blood Money, came out forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I dabbled in that one, but it's critical that I say how much I adore stealth games, and specifically stealth games that give you options. Notably, Dishonored 1 and 2, I absolutely fell in love with for similar reasons, the way you're describing Hitman, where you have multiple ways to approach each mission, whether it be not only the main target itself, but maybe some side objectives, and like you said, the wackiness to Hitman that I was actually unaware of until you clarified that. I thought it was meant to be taken totally seriously.
Oh, no.
But it's good to know that there's some humor in there as well, so that already intrigues me even more. And just based on your description alone and what I've actually seen of Hitman 2, I have no doubt that I would actually love that game if I were to play it, which I do intend to play it at some point. I don't know when, but I know I will love that game. So I think as a hardcore stealth fan, who has yet to play Hitman, I think that I would inevitably be okay with saying it's okay at 5.
Man, Garrett, it sounds like this game would be totally your jam.
Yeah, that's why I think whether you guys battle it out for 4 or 5, if that's what we're going for right now, I think I'd be totally comfortable with saying it belongs at 5, having not played it, but just on that description alone. So,
yeah, I mean, it has a very specific niche it falls into, but it has absolutely mastered that fucking niche.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Agent 47, I mean, it's, like I said, it knows how ridiculous it is. So you dress your enormous 6.5 foot tall bald man up as a short, skinny hippie wearing a do-rag and carrying a truck made out of cocaine, and he has the audacity to let loose with some of the most ridiculous, death-inspired one-liners. God, I'm not even going to repeat them because you have to see it for yourself. You'll just split a gut on the floor. So good. So good. I'm happy with it at 5.
I don't know. Odyssey, looking at Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I think deserves a spot somewhere in here, which review score wise is higher than Hitman 2, significantly higher. Its meta is 87. You could argue Odyssey is the best Assassin's Creed game in the series because it took what Origins did last year, which I believe was on our top 10. It took what Origins did last year and it made it that much better.
Oh no,
it's
Trev.
Just such a superb game in many ways.
Trev, it's not though. It took what Origins did and made it worse.
No.
It made it worse.
How?
Well, I wrote about this quite a bit in my review, but the problem with Odyssey is it doesn't know where to stop. A lot like Red Dead, it doesn't know how to respect your time because it's built this humongous world that is filled with too many things and none of the things really matter. So it's the Ubisoft icon overload taken to an unbelievable extreme where nothing means anything, so you don't really know where to go to have a meaningful experience. Like, you think about how Alex Thomas has played this game, where he's trying to do everything, and he's put like hundreds of hours into this thing and is nowhere near anything of substance. And I mean, he loves the Greek world, which is fine, but God, it doesn't respect your time. It doesn't know how to build a cohesive experience. You're just flailing from moment to moment, trying to find this tangent of something that means anything.
Yeah, like, I'll put Far Cry 5 in for sure, but if I have to include 2 Ubisoft games, like, I couldn't conceivably put fucking Assassin's Creed Odyssey above Far Cry 5.
No way.
And, yeah, no fucking way. And, even to a greater extent, I'm like, do we need 2 Ubisoft sandboxes on this top 10 list? Like,
yeah, Far Cry is a better sandbox.
Yeah, it is a better sandbox. Far Cry is a better sandbox, but like Hitman 2 is still a more focused, cohesive experience that, like you said, Paul, respects your time better and doesn't like of the Ubisoft sandbox, it's the better one. Of the sandboxes, it's still not the best. So yeah,
It's pretty good. It's pretty solid. Like, Garrett, the voice of reason, we need you to chime in here.
We're talking about Assassin's Creed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I've played roughly 4.5 hours of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I played about the same amount of time of Origins. So it's hard for me to compare the two. Not that that's really the goal here, but people really seem to love that game, and I know it's weird to be like, I'm basing my conclusion here on everyone else's opinion, but based on everything I've heard, with the exception of Paul's, everyone else I know has been very positive about it. I liked what I played, but I barely played any of it, so it's hard for me to really give a
and that's the thing
input.
too. I'm not a hardcore Assassin's Creed fan by any stretch, but just you know, the chatter online and just what fans of the series are saying, they absolutely love it. Like, they're gushing over it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that two of us have opinions and two of us have read Metacritic recently. So you're not like changing the tide or anything here.
No, yeah, I'll say this. I kind of have a little more validation because the two people I trust most, and as far as game opinions go, are my two closest friends because we tend to like a lot of the same things. So since they like it a lot, I know I'd probably like it a lot too if I spent more time with it. I just haven't had time. So that's where my thoughts come from.
That's the thing. I'm not saying there's not things to like there, because I think, for example, Cassandra is a great character. But getting to the meat of that story and getting to things that mean something and pull you into the world and pull you along this thread, it's very hard to access, because anytime you're dropped into a space, your compass is absolutely full of markers in every single direction, and most of them are completely meaningless. So, like, Garrett, let me ask you this. You've played 4.5, 5 hours. Have you seen the title card yet?
Yes, I have. I got to the title card, and maybe 45 minutes after that, as far as I got. And I laughed out loud when the title card showed up.
Yeah, right?
Because it was ridiculous how long it took to get there.
Exactly. And that's the through line of the entire game, is that it takes far longer than you expect it to, or you want it to get to the things that you feel like you should be doing. And I don't want to put that all on microtransactions, but there is a microtransaction that lets you level up twice as fast. And part of the barrier to getting to the story faster is that the levels are just way too high. So you have to do the bullshit side stuff or pay the fee.
Man, kicking off the top 10. Fuck that noise.
All right, well then, what should replace it, gentlemen? What should land at 6 for you guys?
Okay, if we're not going to put Odyssey there, because we're not, I think.
What about Tetris Effect?
The best Tetris game of all Tetris games, and there have been so very, very many, one or more per generation since games were a thing.
Would that even win best VR game? Because even, Astrobot, people loved quite a bit as well.
Astrobot is fucking great.
Right.
But I don't think it has quite that same visceral level of satisfaction as Tetris Effect. Like, Astrobot is a really curious, cool little, like, almost like a terrarium type experience where you're looking in on a world that you're a part of, sort of like distantly, and it's really fascinating, like this fucking toy box that you're kind of playing with, and that's cool. But Tetris Effect is like second by second just an absolutely enthralling experience, and yeah, it easily overtakes Astrobot in that respect.
Yeah, Tetris is this kind of whole package in a way Tetris hasn't been in the past. It's always been about gameplay and about fast puzzle solving and understanding the mechanics of pieces. But Tetris Effect is like that mashed up with like Luminas or Res, and having that visual and auditory stimuli that is so many levels above the engagement required to play Tetris. The impact of each block hitting the stack is amplified in a really, really ridiculous way. And that works really, really well in VR, but also just on your TV screen, where, I don't know, Tetris always produces this feeling like you want to give it another go, or you want to keep trying to get better at the game, but having that additional stimuli through each action you take having an impact on the music and having an impact on the visuals, it makes a huge difference. And although I think it's priced way too high, Tetris Effect is a freaking fantastic game. And I think it should be on the top 10.
Yeah, right. So I guess that's what I was going to get to. Is it better than Far Cry 5, Smash Brothers, Dead Cells, and Octopath? Or is it one that just creeps into our top 10 at 10?
I think it probably hits 10.
Yeah, I could see it creeping.
Yeah. Because
it's great to see, because a lot of people at the beginning of the year, myself included, were kind of writing off VR. Like, it just wasn't looking good. So it's nice that we've seen three really solid games in the past, month that have come out that people it's generating a lot of chatter.
Mm-hmm.
So, from the look of the list, the only thing tentatively we have to really decide is the Spider-Man God of War split. And after that, we actually just have a top 10 list.
We have a 10, unless anyone has anything else to bring up or thinks that things are dramatically in the wrong order.
No, they're not. I want them to be, but they're not. Like, this is about where it should sit, honestly. Like, we could fiddle with like Hitman 2 and Far Cry 5 in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like those two could occupy either space comfortably, and I think that it'd just be like nitpicking to even like try to figure out where specifically they could go. Like, I think they're about where they need to be. I think Smash Brothers is about as high as it should be. Dead Cells is in a good place. Octopath is looking fine. Tetris Effect kind of sneaks in at the last minute with just being the best of what it can be. The only thing we really have to figure out is if we're going to do Spider-Man or God of War at number 1.
I think we have to come up with a number 1. There can be no tie. There's no ties at COGconnected.
No, we
come up with a number 1.
We have to divide the two into who's going to be the best and who's going to be the second best.
And for me, and I don't know if it was like this for you guys, but for me, those two, it was really, really close.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it came down to flaws, and I looked at what game could I pick out more flaws with, and I picked out more flaws with Spider-Man. But I really enjoyed that game a lot. Did I enjoy it more than God of War? Boy, maybe I did. It's really close.
Yeah,
I think I had an epiphany just now.
It was just fun.
Whoa,
like,
hold on, guys.
all the time.
We got an epiphany.
The voice of reason.
So, it's weird because when I do lists like this at the end of every year, I typically divide what I think was the best achievement overall as far as a game is concerned versus which game I had the most fun with. Because sometimes games I have the most fun with differ from what I think is the best game of the year.
For sure.
But with Spider-Man, something I hadn't considered since the day I started playing is that game truly was, I think I even had said this in one of the videos I did for the game, that it really was a dream come true for me. Because I'd been dreaming, my buddies and I, all of us had been dreaming of a Spider-Man game of that quality, specifically the web swinging, of course, but to have that total package, not only with the web swinging, but the combat, the story, the animation, the visuals, the music. I mean, it is everything I could have ever dreamt a Spider-Man game to be. And I will never forget how I felt in that opening cinematic when he's running around his room and he jumps out his window and it immediately goes into web swinging gameplay. I will never forget that. God. It's probably one of my top 10 gaming moments in my life.
Yeah.
Because I'd been waiting for that for so long. And because of that, I'm thinking how much just like you guys said, how much I enjoyed that game from start to finish. I still will jump in and web swing for fun for 10 minutes at a time, just when it crosses my mind. So I think all things considered, the way it made me feel, the huge smile I had on my face for the majority of the time I played it, the impactful story and everything I mentioned before, I think I'm totally cool with it being Game of the Year over God of War because of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just, I mean, again, that's just a personal opinion. That's how I feel personally. But again, I still do think God of War is incredible.
Yeah, Yeah,
Well, and I think there's something to be said. Like for me, I kind of echo a lot of your sentiments there. Like it just for me, it was the best. And I've played. Oh my god, I've played so many Spider-Man games over
Yeah.
the years. Definitely was a huge Web of Shadows fan. So I mean, a year leading up to the release of Insomniac's Spider-Man, I was like, okay, they really got to get this right, and they really got to get this right, and this is the kind of Spider-Man game it needs to be, and it needs to do this, and it needs to do that, and yeah, it hit on everything I wanted it to be, and I enjoyed it from beginning to end. So, yeah, I could move my chips over to the Spider-Man side of the house and give it the nod.
So
Spider-Man, God of War.
if we
Red's
move
Deads.
if we move that, the top 10 becomes from 10 to 1, Tetris Effect, Octopath Traveler, Dead Cells, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Far Cry 5, Hitman 2, Celeste, Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, and Spider-Man.
That list is 100%.
I feel pretty good
Fire.
about that, actually.
Yeah, it is.
You know, I think that's pretty good. I feel like
with
maybe
the Messenger, I mean the Messenger and Monster Hunter World just missing the top.
yeah, on the bubble. Like James was saying, I could see like one or two of them maybe flipping, like maybe Far Cry and Smash Bros. Flipping, or Dead Cells and Smash Bros. Flipping, but it's pretty close. I can't argue it too much.
I like it. Yeah.
Did we just?
And look, if people out there are upset we didn't give God of War or Red Dead 2 the game of the year, look, there'll be a bazillion other sites that will give them their due. I like it. We're going with Spider-Man. We're locking that in.
All right. Did we just do a thing, guys?
I think we did.
Wow. And under the 2-hour mark. My God. Well, let's read them back again just because we can. Number 10, Tetris Effect. Number 9, Octopath Traveler. Number 8, Dead Cells. Number 7, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 6, Far Cry 5. Number 5, Hitman 2. Number 4, Celeste. Number 3, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 2, God of War. And number 1, Marvel's Spider-Man.
What a year.
What a year indeed. Like, look at that top 3.
Right, last year, and last year we said we couldn't, at the time we did these awards last year, we were like, 2018, there's no way 2018 can live up to 2017. Well, I think 2018 absolutely lived up to 2017.
Yeah.
I think it exceeded it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love 2017.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And 2017 was no soft year when our top 3 was Horizon Zero Dawn, Breath of the Wild, and Super Mario Odyssey.
It's pretty solid.
Pretty solid.
So, needless to say, we need Xbox to have a big 2019, and even the Switch for that matter. Like, there's not a lot of one Switch exclusive in our top 10 and 0 Xbox One exclusives on our top 10.
Well, let's be honest. Our Xbox One exclusive vote was a foregone conclusion when the only 3 games that anyone could come up with as X1 exclusives were Forza 4, Sea of Thieves, and State of Decay 2. Good God.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of they've signed lots of studios. There's lots of room for optimism.
Yeah, totally. I think Phil is the right guy to be at the helm of that ship right now, and he's
absolutely.
He's steering it towards the bright horizon, and ignoring the little pitfalls that they're going to have in the meantime, which is, I think, the right approach. Yeah. Any parting words from anyone before we sign off and just get out of here, because we came up with the best goddamn top 10 list that has ever been built?
Though I was a man of a few words tonight, I wanted to say I was honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Garrett, it's always a pleasure. Always a privilege.
Yeah, likewise, my friend.
Do you want to plug your cast since you're here?
My podcast?
Yeah. Why not?
I don't know, I've never plugged it before.
Give me the elevator pitch.
Yeah, sure. Elevator pitch. It's Obvious Gaming podcast. Myself and my two best pals are episode 181 came out this week. Been doing it for quite a while now. Very laid back. It's mostly just a glorified conversation between the three of us about our week and what we've been playing, and we'll go over general video game news that interests us from each week, and we'll answer community questions at the end that people have submitted on our Discord. So if that even remotely intrigues you, that elevator pitch, it's out there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and YouTube.
And we will definitely get a link in the description here to It's Obvious Gaming with Garrett, Drake, and two other homies. Always a good time, always a good listen. I consistently laugh when I listen to you guys, so...
I didn't even know you listened. I'm honored to hear it.
Yeah. How could I not? How could I not? We've been through so much together, Garrett.
You guys have a great chemistry. It's awesome. And if the Press X podcast doesn't pick up their socks anytime soon, we are going to sign Obvious Gaming to a long-term deal, a lucrative long-term deal to be the official COGconnected podcast. If the Press X team doesn't get their act together here,
yeah, that or we'll just combine them like a Megazord.
Yeah, right, like yeah.
Well, let's end on that note where Trevor is throwing shade at his own podcast and his own team.
Right.
Fucking rude.
Until next time, this has been your COGconnected crew with the best of the year in 2018, the Game of the Year Awards. We were very pleased if you've listened this far. Give us a follow on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any of those places where you find gaming news. You can always find us at COGconnected.com if you can't remember any of those social media sites. I don't know if you're old or, I don't know, just don't do that
There's
stuff.
a lot of them, okay? It's a long list of things.
Yeah, it is. COGconnected.com. It's easy to remember. Get there. Get all your news. Get all your reviews, previews. We're all there writing stuff all the time. Videos go up all the time on YouTube, so please check it out. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We will see you next time. Peace out.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap.
Oh yeah.